Time for the big interview, and it's always a good time to bring in Josh Whitman, the athletic director at the University of Illinois, a well-connected guy and a guy whose programs at his school are almost all seemingly rising right now. Josh, I want to ask you a lot about Illinois stuff, but we have to start with the big picture of what's been happening in the Big Ten. Not sure if you heard, couple news items recently.
It's been a slow week. I haven't been paying attention.
So Oregon and Washington, from the outside, it felt like it happened really fast. What did it feel like from your point of view?
From the inside, I think it was an ongoing conversation. We knew that the move that we made a year ago was going to precipitate some additional movement across the country. We didn't necessarily know what that meant, but we certainly stayed abreast of some of the changes, some of the moving pieces. And so there was conversation and ultimately just really excited about Oregon and Washington, the fit, the academic profile, the athletic success that they bring to the table. And I know our student athletes are excited about the opportunity to compete against such really well-respected programs.
Well, and that's the thing. The pros are obvious, right? These are two well-known brand name programs with good cities, good fan bases, good stadiums, all that stuff. The cons are obvious too, the travel issues that were still there with the LA schools. But this is stuff, again, that we were talking outside of it. For those who were inside, what were the topics of discussion like last week?
I think it's a lot of what people would imagine. I do think that some of the story has gotten out in the wrong direction. I think people have assumed this is, quote unquote, all about the money. The reality is there isn't new money for the existing Big Ten members for a number of years in this arrangement. We want to make sure we provide Oregon and Washington the resources that they need to be successful. But as we come back into the marketplace at the end of our current media deal, we'll see what that is in a position to do for us as a conference and as individual member institutions. But on the flip side, the conversation around travel, around student athlete welfare, obviously those are things that are very core to our mission here at Illinois and across the Big Ten Conference. And so we had extended conversation about what that would look like, how it'll feel. The reality is that most of our teams are already making extensive non-conference trips anyway, and that most of our teams also are engaging or I should say some of our teams are engaging in just postseason competition within the Big Ten. Here at Illinois, for example, we're only looking at 7 teams outside of football, men's and women's basketball, and our championship-only performers that will be looking to create a conference-based regular season schedule. And in talking with the Big Ten, we know that those schools will only be asked to go west no more than one time. And so we think there's some ways to make sure that we minimize some of those on-the-road experiences for our student athletes. But again, it's a great opportunity for them to get out, get west, see a new part of the country, compete against some of the best in college sports. And we're excited about the challenge.
All right, so here's the question that every time it's been posed to me, I've been dead wrong about. Let's try it with you, Josh. What's next?
What's next? I don't know. I think that certainly we have to continue to watch the landscape. There's no question that things continue to evolve very quickly around college athletics. I don't anticipate anything imminent for the Big Ten, but also we've learned anything these last several weeks or years that things can change very quickly. It's clear that college athletics remains in a state of intense disruption. I think the Big Ten has to be a very important player in helping to create what the future of college athletics will look like. I think that's a part of the story that hasn't been told much, and as we've evaluated expansion, is adding schools like Washington and Oregon gives us a stronger voice in the national conversation as we try and reshape the future of college athletics, as we look to try and navigate some of these waters involving name, image, likeness, student athlete benefits, potentially compensation, the transfer portal, sports gambling. All those things are obviously issues where the Big Ten has strong opinions. And now as we continue to grow our voice, hopefully can provide some leadership and some influence over what that future for college athletics can look like.
I mentioned your school has a handful of programs where the arrow is pointing up, none more brightly than the football program after 8-win season last year. The fans seem to have noticed this, Josh. You guys have sold more than 10,000 new season ticket holders. Give me some big picture perspective on what that means at U of I.
It's a big deal for us. As you would imagine, last year we were in the low 20,000s in terms of our total season tickets. This year we'll be in the low to mid 30,000s. It's a significant uptick for us. It's the most new single season tickets that we've sold, I think, since after the Rose Bowl back in the 2007 season, the 2008 Rose Bowl. Our fans are excited. We've got great fans here at the University of Illinois. They respond every time we put good teams out on the field or on the court. And we've seen that excitement in State Farm Center these last 4 or 5 years with the success of our basketball programs. And now we're starting to translate that across the street into Memorial Stadium. It's been a big point of emphasis for us as we head into this new year. And our fans have really grasped the understanding of what that building can feel like. They remember the vibes that can be in there when the place is full and there's great energy. And we're committed to making sure that happens again for us starting this fall.
All right, AD hat off for this next question, football hat on. You're a guy who knows the sport very well, played tight end at Illinois. When you watch this football team and you know what's coming this year, what is it that has you excited?
I see a bunch of guys that have learned how to win. Last year, I think that was certainly part of the process of Brett's first 2 seasons, really, was teaching the guys how to push through those hard games, how to overcome adversity, how to come out on the other side of a tight game as a victor. And now to have that understanding, learning how to persevere throughout the entirety of the season. You heard Coach B at the media days a few weeks back talk about really looking at last year as 2 distinct segments. We had the 7-1 start, and then obviously we stumbled a little bit down the stretch, and now it's making sure that we understand the ongoing effort that is required to sustain that level of excellence throughout the entirety of the season. We've got a veteran group, a bunch of guys who are excited to be here. They play well together. They're really responding well to Coach B's leadership and the staff that we've been able to put together. And so it's a group that's confident, that's hungry, that knows that they had an opportunity a year ago to do some things that were really, really special, and we just missed the mark. And they're looking forward to a chance to get out on the field this year and take those final steps.
If you look at the football schedule, week 2, you guys play the Jayhawks on a Friday. Last year, you guys had a Friday game as well. You had a Thursday game last year also. Is this going to be more frequent in the future, weekday games for the Illini program?
I think I don't know if more frequent is the right term. It's something that we have tried to use strategically over the last several years to try and separate our football program away from the pack on a traditional Saturday afternoon. We certainly want to make sure that Saturdays remain the core of Illinois football. We want our fans to know that on fall Saturdays, Memorial Stadium is the place where we want them to be. But we also know that there are occasional opportunities that present themselves where we can take a game that maybe on a Saturday afternoon wouldn't garner a lot of national attention. We can move it away from the group and put it into a preferred time slot on a Thursday or a Friday, gather a national television audience. We're trying to be a disruptive brand with Fighting Illini football right now, and the opportunity for us to gain a new audience, allow people to see some of the good things that are happening here in Champaign and in Memorial Stadium is pretty compelling. And so, again, we won't take too much of the opportunity, but when those moments present themselves, we're always going to be willing to listen and consider how that might ultimately benefit Illinois football.
Last one for you, Josh. This summer, the football program brought in this guy as a recruiting assistant, Houston Griffith. I'm just worried about, listen, great mom, great sibling. I don't know if you did enough research on the dad, and I'm worried. It just feels sketchy to me.
It's a fair point, and I take it under advisement. You know, we think the world of Houston. He's tremendous. He's come on board and hit the ground running. But I don't know that we did enough background check there. There's some legacy issues that really give us some pause. But, you know, it's really been a great fit. We've actually been fortunate. I was looking out at practice the other day, and we have probably 5 or 6 current players or staff members who are in some way connected to the history of the program, whether their legacies, their parents were part of Illinois athletics, not all in football, some baseball, some volleyball, or perhaps their family members were previous coaches on our staff. And so it's really been cool to see some of that connection to our past come through in our present. And I know that's something that matters to Coach Bielema, and I think will be a real focal point for us as we continue to grow as a program looking into the future.
And it's a credit to Houston Griffith and his mom's genes for being able to overcome everything that he had to fight in his life. Josh Whitman, AD at Illinois. Always great talking to you, man. We appreciate the time.
Thanks, Mike. Talk to you soon.